Hello, my name is Chloe, welcome to my channel. Today I'm bringing you an in-depth kind of conversation about my favourite authors. So a couple months ago now, I watched Ali from Hardback Hoarder have a tiny meltdown over who her favourite authors were, why, what counts as a favourite author, how many books do you need to read, how many books do you need to love for somebody to be considered a favourite author. And I decided to bring that conversation to you too and talk about my favourite books, my favourite authors, whether there's authors that I love that I still wouldn't consider favourites, all of that kind of stuff. So this might be a bit of a ramble. I hope that sounds interesting. I will of course link Ali's video down in the description so that you can go and check it out. I'm not claiming the idea for having this sort of open discussion, and I have used some of the categories she used to structure my thoughts a little bit. But yes, so let's just get started into it. So first of all, I wanted to talk about the people that I would definitely class favourite authors, because I have at least 3 books that I've read of theirs that I've rated 4.5 or 5 stars. So for me, that is just obviously a favourite author. So the one that springs to mind first for me, and I really do believe this lady might be my favourite author of all time, that is Jen Bennett. So my favourite book being Starry Eyed. I read this, I've only read it twice now. I read it in 2019 and then again at the start of 2020, but this is a YA contemporary with some romance, and it's a survival story, and there's a bear, and there's a snake, I think, at one point. It is a camping story gone wrong with YA romance, and I absolutely love it. It's genuinely one of my favourite books of all time. So this is a 5-star read from me. I also gave 5 stars to Alex Approximately, which is another YA contemporary. I mean, they're all YA contemporaries. But this one is based in a seaside town, and it's like a summer romance. And then I gave Serious Moonlight 4.5 stars, which is more mystery based, but still a YA contemporary, but they have some mysteries to solve. So yeah, Jen Bennett is definitely a favourite author of mine. I have to have these editions of her books. They're American. I hunt them down to make sure I get them. But I love all of these with my whole heart. But then I also haven't read her latest book, which is Chasing Lucky, or the most recent book that you can get in this edition. And this might have actually come out last year, and I think I don't want to read it because I don't want to be disappointed. It actually says 2020. Oh my god, so this is 2 years old now, but I don't want to be disappointed because I love all of these so much. But Jen Bennett is definitely one of my favourite authors. We can't dispute that. Then another favourite author I have, I've only pulled one book down from this because to hold the whole series up would be ridiculous, but Rachel Kane, author of the Morganville Vampires series. This series is 15 books plus a collection of short stories about the world, and I don't think I've given any of the books below a 4-star. I love them so much with my whole heart. Sadly, Rachel Kane has now passed away. I believe she passed away in November of 2020 or round about then. So we won't be getting any more installments in this series from her. I think I do have an opportunity to try other things. I think she wrote some adult thrillers, but I'm not 100% sure on that. But these books, they're so corny, they're so cheesy. It is a town of vampires that humans don't know exist, and then they get there and the town's run by vampires. It's so cheesy and I love it so much. So would 100% class Rachel Kane, because at least 10 of her books have had 4.5 or 5 stars from me. Next up, a bit of a weird one, Brigid Kemmerer. So I actually was fortunate enough to meet Brigid Kemmerer at Yauk a couple weeks ago, and she signed all of my books, which she's just an absolute gem. So I have these signed now, and I have loved her work. So I've read all of her contemporaries, I believe. I think actually that's a lie. I think there's one backlist one that I've never got my hands on, which I am on the lookout for. All of her more recent contemporary books. I've then read the whole of the Cursebreaker series. So A Curse So Dark and Lonely, A Heart So Fierce and Broken, and A Vow So Bold and Deadly. But then I'm scared to carry on, and I tell you why. It's because I do read some fantasy, I dip my toe in, and I feel like because I've loved Brigid's work, it's going to help me get further in her series, but her contemporary is where I'm absolutely in love with her. So I'm scared. I now have Defy the Night and Forging Silver into Stars that I'm not 100% sure on yet. I do need to read them. I know I'm going to love them, but I'm scared. But at this point, all of her books have had 4.5 stars or 5 stars from me, so favourite author. And the last one in this category is kind of weird because I actually think I'm breaking my own rules for this, but Colleen Hoover. So Verity and It Ends With Us were my favourite books of 2021. I love them with my whole heart. I have the collector's edition of Verity on the way on pre-order. I have the sequel to It Ends With Us on pre-order, and I love these books so, so much. Now, this fits in this category because I read Ugly Love, which I also gave 4.5 or 5 stars. I think it was 5 stars. So All Your Perfects, I gave 3.5 stars, I think. I didn't love it that much. But on the whole, her books get 5 stars and absolutely destroy me. Saying that, I do have many of her books that I haven't read yet. I have Reminders of Him, I have Slammed, I have Hopeless, I have Layla, I have Regretting You. So there are lots more I can read, and it's, again, I'm scared I won't love them to this level. Okay, next up, I actually have printed notes for this. This is how much this unstructured mess has been structured. But now I want to talk about authors that have intrigued me enough where I've read 1 or 2, enjoyed them, I own more and I want to read them, but something's stopping me. And these are ones that could potentially be classed as favourite authors, but for some reason they just don't quite get there. We have some noisy vehicles outside, but unfortunately I need to carry on. So one author that it's not particularly their fault that I've not loved more than 2 of their books, because I believe these are the only 2 out, and I think there is a new book coming out soon, but Jandy Nelson. So I have read The Sky Is Everywhere and I'll Give You the Sun. I've given both of these 5 stars, no question, and I do really need to reread them because I read this one way back when in 2018 and have not read it since. And then I believe I read The Sky Is Everywhere about the same time and have reread it once since then. But both of these get 5 stars from me, and I actually don't know that I would still love them to this level. I think what I need to do with Jandy Nelson is to read the new book that's coming out. I will put something on the screen if it's been announced. I'm sure it has. I remember somebody saying. But yes, really do like Jandy Nelson, but wouldn't automatically class her as a favourite author. Another one I would potentially say is almost there is Jennifer Niven. So this is All the Bright Places, which I have tried to unhaul several times, but I read it again just for one more go, and it breaks me again and again and again, and I can't part from it. I've also read Holding Up the Universe, which I gave 5 stars too, but I don't have a physical copy of that one, and I loved it so much. Again, it broke me. But I do have Breathless, and I've had it a very long time, but some part of me just can't read this yet, and I don't know why. But Jennifer Niven, everything I've read, I've loved. And I just wouldn't class her as a favourite author, and I don't know why. Next up, an author that I have read 1 book from, but I stand by it being one of my favourite things of all time. And I'm just reaching, because I have the ARC too, and that is Done Dirt Cheap by Sarah Nicole Lemon. Sarah Nicole Lemon has written 1 more book, I think. I could even be wrong there, but I absolutely love this book. I actually got this in some sort of mystery box, and it was a signed ARC, so I just jumped on it straight away. This is a book about girls who are somehow linked to a motorcycle club, and yeah, it's just a YA coming of age story, but with a motorcycle club involved too, and that's one of my like mini obsessions. So I loved this book with my whole heart. I can't even remember what the other book is called, and I haven't read it yet. So this woman could potentially be one of my favourite authors of all time, because I love this book so much, enough that I'm holding 2 copies that look identical. But I just need to actually experience more. Next up, a bit of a weird one where I can't even remember what books I've read by this author apart from this one. It might just be this one, and that is Mindy Mcginnis. This Darkness Mine, this book was so weird. I loved it so much. This is about a girl who consumed her twin in the womb, and things are happening to her as a teenager, and it's all linked like mentally to this twin in the womb, and it's the weirdest thing I've ever read, potentially. And I loved it so much that it was so weird and so odd that I couldn't not give it 5 stars. And I have more of Mindy Mcginnis's books. I have Heroine on my shelves, I have The Female of the Species on my Kindle, and for some reason I'm not reading it. But this woman could be a favourite author. Next up, another one where I'm just putting off the 3rd book. Helen Huang. I absolutely love The Kiss Quotient and The Bride Test. I've given both of these books 5 stars, no question. I pre-ordered The Heart Principle. It is up there on my shelves, but I just haven't read it, and I don't know why. Like, I just genuinely don't know. So I wouldn't automatically class Helen Huang as an author that's my favourite, but I have no idea why, because I loved every inch of these books with my whole being. These are adult romances with very interesting main characters. So in this one we have Stella, who has Asperger's, and in this one we have Kai, who is autistic. And I just loved the portrayal and the representation in these that it just made me cry for the longest time. But I haven't read The Heart Principle yet, so maybe when I read that, she'll be a favourite author. Another one, we're nearly done in this category, I promise, is Sarah Bernard. So I, again, met Sarah Bernard at YALC, amazing experience. She was the first author I've met, it was so lovely. But I've read A Quiet Kind of Thunder, which made me cry for weeks, because this is about Steffi, who doesn't talk, and Reese, who is deaf. And people that know more about me from my personal life, I actually didn't speak, apart from to closest friends and family, until I was about 8 years old. So this one really struck something quite deep in me, especially like now I don't shut up and I'm posting videos on the internet and I'm actually like quite a confident person. This one I really felt something. I felt like understood in a way. So I loved this one with my whole heart. It's more than 5 stars. And then I read Goodbye Perfect, which I also gave 5 stars, and that is one about a teacher-student romance in high school, and that one is very, very hard-hitting. But then I own at least 3 more of her books, at least 2 more of her books, and I haven't read them yet. So I need to read more, and then she's a favourite. And finally, the last one in this category, and I actually can't find the first book, which isn't great, Suzanne Young. So we have Girls with Sharp Sticks is number 1, and then Girls with Razor Hearts and Girls with Rebel Souls. And the first book I've read twice, and each time I cannot tell you how amazing I find it. The first time it was literally the best book I'd read in so long. I advise anyone wanting to read it to go into it completely blind, because it will just be so much better. But these two, I now have the hardbacks, and I've had them for a long time. Like, this one was a gift from Tracy for hitting 1,000 subscribers. So I've had it a while, and I just put them off because I know how much I loved the first one and I don't want to be let down. But if these two are amazing, she's a favourite author. Moving on, we now have 2 authors I want to talk about where I have loved some of the books and detested others. First up, I want to talk about a lovely person I met at YALC, and that is Juno Dawson. So this book, Clean, is my favourite book I've read by her. This is the one I went and got signed, and I just think it's hilarious because she put "just say no" with an unhappy face, because this is a book about rehabilitation and heroin addiction, which is very, very hard hitting, particularly in a YA. And yeah, I loved this one so, so much. 5 stars, was left in tears, ripped my heart out. Then I've read Hollow Pike, which I gave 3.5 stars, so really just middle ground. And then I read Cruel Summer, which I gave 2 stars. I think it was 2 stars. Really disliked it. 2 stars might have actually been generous. So Juno Dawson is an author I like, but probably isn't a favourite. And then the most, I think, obvious for a lot of people in the community who, especially my age, so when, let's say 2014, when one of these books got really, really, really big, this guy became a very famous, beloved author, but I hate some of his books, and that is John Green. So The Fault in Our Stars will never stop being one of my favourite books of all time. I first read it in August of 2014, and of course it ripped my heart out. Of course it will continue to rip my heart out, and so will the movie. And then Turtles All the Way Down, I have a signed copy. This book is amazing. I love it so, so much. But then let's talk about An Abundance of Catherines, or Paper Towns, or Looking for Alaska. All books that I hate. So John Green will never be a favourite author, just some favourite books. And the final chunk of books I want to talk about are ones where I have loved everything I've read from them, but I still wouldn't consider them a favourite author. It's kind of, I consider those books, that book series, to be a favourite series or a favourite group of books, but I would never put that author as a favourite author. First one, I wasn't going to mention this one, but I saw these books stood together on my shelves and I thought, this is completely right, and that is The Tattooist of Auschwitz series by Heather Morris. So I have read The Tattooist of Auschwitz and Silka's Journey. I think it was 4.5 stars and 5 stars, so definitely contenders in terms of what else I've read. I haven't read Three Sisters yet, but I've only just bought it, and me and Chelsea are going to buddy read it. But I love these books. I have been to Auschwitz and I find everything very, very emotional and hard to read at times. But I love these, well, I can't talk about this one, but I love these books. But I don't think about Heather Morris when I read them, so I wouldn't class her as a favourite author, and I don't know what that says, but I just don't. The next two, I think a lot of people would class in this category, the first one being Cassandra Clare. So just to prove a point, I've got my 10th anniversary special edition of City of Bones. City of Bones is a book I will love forever, and just this copy is gorgeous, and I've annotated it. Well, this one I've just tabbed, I haven't annotated, but what I've actually been doing is taking part in By the Angel Along, and I've been rereading all of Cassandra's works and annotating them with highlighters and pens and destroying my copies, because I love them so much and I want to put my memories in there forever. But Cassandra Clare, I don't really consider her a favourite author. I consider the Shadowhunters books as favourite books. So just to prove my point, Cassie Clare was at Yauk, and I did get a ticket, but I didn't go to the photo opportunity, I didn't go to the panel. I basically had no interest in meeting her as a person, and I don't know what that says about me, but I would like to continue enjoying the books. I have not finished all of them yet, there are still many more I need to read, but I actually just don't have any interest in classing her as a favourite author. I'd rather just enjoy the Shadowhunters world. And this one is maybe quite obvious too, and that is Sarah J Maas. So, I have not read all of her works yet. I have read A Court of Thorns and Roses, A Court of Mist and Fury, and A Court of Wings and Ruin, all of which are solid 5-star reads from me. But, even though I own them, I have not read House of Earth and Blood, House of Sky and Breath, or A Court of Silver Flames. And I know people say these are her best work, but I just have no interest in her work as an individual. I will just continue gushing about this whole book and how much I love it and how much it means to me. But I don't consider Sarah J Maas a favourite author, and again, I don't know what that says about me or how my brain works. So that is kind of my discussion over. I don't know how well this video is going to go down because it really is just me rambling. I've been talking for like half an hour now and I need to make this into a structured video. But I would love to hear, if you do any sort of video similar to this or you already have one, then please do let me know down in the comments, because I'd love to see what other people have to say about this topic. Like, why? I realized when I was watching Ali's video, I couldn't understand why she was so confused on what a favourite author was. But then when I came to write my own list, I thought, really, I do not understand why I class some of these people as favourites when I don't love some of their books, and why I love all of these books but this person isn't a favourite author. I've probably repeated myself 80 times, and I don't know, I just wanted to talk about this. So I'm glad that you guys have let me, not that you had much choice, but if you've got to this point in the video, then you let me talk about it. If you have got to this point, just out of pure curiosity, please leave me some star emojis down in the comments. You know, we've given some of these books 5 stars, let's get some star emojis. And it will just let me know that you genuinely listened to me ramble for this long. I'm very impressed by you and I love you so much. But yeah, also let me know down in the comments, are there any authors where you love all of their books but you wouldn't class them as a favourite author, or books that are favourite authors but you've hated one? Let me know. I want to know this information. But on that note, that's all I have time for today. Literally, we've been talking a long time. So thank you very much for watching. I really do hope you enjoyed, and I will see you in my next one. Bye!